What's up, guys? Welcome back to Airbnb ABC. Super glad to have you guys here. Now, when we are looking at a Airbnb VRBO short-term rental investment, there's a lot of reasons why you might want to do that, from, building equity, building wealth, and what have you. But, at the end of the day, you're going to want to know how much money that you are making on an annual basis. And that always comes up in any of the forums that I'm on. How much did you make this year? What was your gross revenue? What were your expenses? What was your net? And so today I'm going to go over our complete 2023 versus 2022 gross and net incomes, because especially in 2023, there was this big social media and I guess just idea in general that Airbnb had busted. People were going back to hotels exclusively, even though I didn't really think that that was the case. And I think that the things that we're going to see today definitely put that to rest, even though, just to get right out ahead of it, 2023, we actually did do worse than 2022. And we're going to get to how much worse we did and why those things happen. I'm going to show you, exactly what we had going on, and we're going to break it down by the cabins, and give you the whole thing. So before we get started in that, subscribe down below if you haven't subscribed yet. Hit the like button for me for the YouTube algorithm, and let's take a look at the numbers. So taking a look at our gross revenue from 2022 to 2023, in 22 we did about $157,000 worth of revenue between two cabins that they're both 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I think one of them is a little bit more attractive. It rents a little bit better, and that's usually reflected if we break this down into classes. In 2022, the one we call Whispering Woods did $71,900, and the one that we call Moonlight Ridge did $85,206. And so that's a pretty significant disparity, but altogether about $157,000. In 23, we only did about $150,000, $149,509, 81 to be exact. And so that is a difference of negative 4.9 year over year from 22 to 23. And we can look again at those individuals as far as which cabin did what. In 2023, the Whispering Woods cabin only did $67,645, and the Moonlight Ridge cabin did $8 below $80,000. And so those both showed decreases in revenue, which makes sense, being that 2023 was a pretty rough year for a lot of folks. Inflation was, crazy, especially coming out of 2022. The economy wasn't in good shape. People didn't have the money to travel. There is some credence to the thing that there's less travel and less folks were going to Airbnbs, maybe especially in the Smoky Mountains market. And there's a lot of talk about people chose international travel in 2023 versus local markets such as the Smokies. But in general, a decline of 4.9 from one of our best years in 2022 isn't that huge of a deal. And now when you're looking at this information, there's a big number, the $82.99 of uncategorized income. And what that reflected was our insurance payout, and there's an expense line for $80-some $100. For the repairs to Whispering Woods, we had a terrible winter back in 2022. We had to cancel a lot of reservations, and we were only open for about 3 or 4 weeks between January and February, because we had the place shut down for a while to get dehumidifiers in there, because we had broken pipes. We had to redo floors, and we had all of that done in the January, February months. And so that income and that expense is probably about a wash, and probably what we would have made as far as gross income if the place had been open. Now, when we come down here to our net income, that is where we probably would not have seen that outgo of $7,000-8,000 to get the flooring replaced and all the other little renovations that we did at the same time, while it was convenient. And so this definitely had more of an impact on our net revenue than it did of our gross revenue, again, because we wouldn't have had those expenses. And when you look at 2022 to 2023, we are down 7.5% for looking at those two different years. Again, there's not a lot of other things that are of a substantial difference than that major renovation that we had to do in regards to the flooding. And so when you take what you would have had our normal income minus that, we probably would have been closer to that 5% negative that we had. And then there is always the factor of when these deposits end up hitting our accounts, because that's when I account for them. For example, we had 2 large reservations at the end of 2023 that started in December, and I believe that the holiday weekend of New Year's and all that made those deposits occur in January of 2024, and the majority of those reservations were in 2023, like the last 4 or 5 days. But because of the New Year's holiday and the way that ended up hitting with the weekends and banks, it didn't get deposited until 2024, and that was about $4,000 or $5,000 there that should have actually been deposited or accounted for in 2023. But I always just account for stuff when it hits the accounts. Now, there's no saying that didn't happen at the end of 2022. To be honest with you, I don't remember, but that is a factor, at least on the tail end of 23, when you're looking at these two different years. Now we're going to go over to the cabin that we've only had for a full year in 2023 and take a look at those numbers and see if they kind of jive with what my estimates were. So this is the cabin that we call Pop's Pinnacle. It is a 2-bedroom plus loft. We market it as a 3-bedroom, sleeps up to 8. And when I first put this one on, I had expected to get anywhere between $80,000 to $120,000 in revenue, just depending on how it all kind of went. This place has spectacular views and is just in my opinion, a really nice place. And so I do think that somewhere in there is where we're going to be. But we put this one in service in 2022, and so it had its first full year in 2023. And, again, things were sort of down in 2023, so we just barely scraped by on my minimum, my low side of my estimations. We grossed $81,810, and with all the fees that we had and all the expenses that we have, most notably, the one that's more than the other two is our interest expense. This one was $600,000. We put, I think, 15% down on this one, but we have a 6.125% interest rate, which really isn't all that bad in the grand scheme of things. But the other ones have like a 4.375 and a 3.12, and we got those for lower prices. We got those for about $500,000 each. And so our interest expense this year for this one alone is $31,000, which is a bunch of money, and it really kind of just makes me sick to my stomach. But if you want to get in the game, that's sort of what you have to do. And so when we get down to our net income for this place, we made $20,313.87. And again, all these numbers, when you look at this for the net, that is just on the front end. That is what the money that you can put in your pocket if you took, every penny that you had. That doesn't count your appreciation. That doesn't count your note pay down. And that doesn't count that you are going to shelter all of this income with depreciation and, writing off all of these expenses. In addition to, if you are a material participant, you can even shelter some of your W-2 income. And so that is what we did for 2023 versus 2022. And, I think we put together, something like $230,000 of total revenue through 3 properties. And, in my opinion, I think that that's pretty good. I think that 2024 is going to be even better. I just released a video on that about my thoughts on 2024. I think that there is going to be more domestic travel. I think that interest rates in general are going to be lower. I think that folks are going to start getting those raises that took into account the ridiculous inflation that we had over the past 2 or 3 years. And I think that that's going to finally start catching up with some of people's disposable income. And I think that folks in general are going to start feeling a little bit better about the economy, mainly because they're going to start hearing about things like interest rates are coming down and potentially gas prices coming down as they have. And even though that may not actually make that big of a difference in the everyday person's life, mentally it helps them, and they start spending more and think that they can take more trips. So I think that our 2024 numbers are going to be at least as good as our 2023 numbers, and I'm hoping to top 2022, if things can really kick off in a big way and we can capitalize, especially on our major busy seasons of April or March, April, the summer months, the June and Julys, and then our Thanksgiving, Christmas holidays. And if we can do that in the Smoky Mountains market anyway, I think that we can, be up from 23 and hopefully top 2022. So guys, if you like this, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. If this is your first time here, subscribe down below. Click on the links that are on the screen. They're going to tell you guys all about how I do Airbnb, VRBO, short-term rentals, and the trials and tribulations and my personal experience with all of those things. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one.